Hi, book friends. My name is E-Train, and today, in honor of Women's History Month, and since yesterday was Ruth Bader Ginsburg's birthday, I'm going to honor her by reading aloud I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg, written by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. Let's dive in. I am Ruth Bader Ginsburg. How do you create change? I was born with the name Joan Ruth Bader, but my sister changed it to the nickname Kiki, since I was such a kicky baby. In kindergarten, my name got changed again. There were so many girls named Joan that my family started calling me Ruth. I'm Joan, I'm Joan, I'm Joan, I'm Joan. You must be Ruth. One of the hardest things to change is what the world thinks of you. Growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I liked the things most kids liked: roller skating, riding bikes, and playing games like stoop ball. Red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. I also did things girls weren't expected to, like climbing to the roof with my cousin. You sure you can handle this? I can handle it. It wasn't easy to reach that roof, but I got there. When I was little, people expected different things from boys and girls. And some of the earliest books I read was to be climbing trees and riding bikes, while girls would just sit around in pink dresses. This makes no sense. I'd rather be climbing trees than wearing a dress, Ruth said. Thankfully, my parents didn't accept the way things were. My father was an immigrant whose only formal schooling was at night to learn English. My mother got a job and never had a chance to attend college. Only her brother did. Since he was a boy, the family thought that his education was more important. My parents wanted a better life for me, and they knew how to get it. Where are we going? Ruth asked. This is the library. Education, Kiki. That's the answer. Every week, my mother took me on our Friday afternoon adventure to the library. I'd pick out 5 books like Little Women and The Secret Garden. Ooh, this feisty one, Joe, is my favorite. I also enjoyed Greek mythology, and I loved doing what you're doing right now, reading about real female heroes. Since we were Jewish, my mother also introduced me to Jewish women of valor, the boldest and bravest of them all, like Emma Lazarus, Henrietta Szold, and Lillian Wald. These women stood for the Jewish idea of tikkun olam, repairing the world, which means helping make the world a better place. To teach me the value of helping others, on my birthday, my mother would take me to the local Jewish orphanage, where we'd give away ice cream to everyone. Sure, it would have been nice to have my own party, but I knew how much it mattered to those who had so little. Being Jewish, I also learned that there were people who didn't like me just because of my religion. Hatred is similar to injustice, both are destructive fractures in our society that we must repair. Today, people know me for my intelligence, but I wasn't great in every subject. In 8th grade, boys had to take wood shop, while girls were forced to take classes in sewing and cooking. The assignment was to sew our own graduation gowns, and mine was a mess. Thankfully, my mother had it fixed by a local dressmaker. When I was 17, my mother died. She was the strongest and bravest person I knew. She changed my world and taught me one of life's greatest lessons. There's nothing a woman can't accomplish. I'll make her proud. I know you will, Ruth. You're strong, just like she was. At Cornell University, a professor helped me understand that one of the great ways to change unfair things is through our legal system. As a lawyer, your skills do not make people's lives better. That sounds like a worthwhile job. Understanding the law is like understanding the rules. The problem was, back then, people didn't think women should go to law school. And they certainly didn't think Jewish women should. I never let that stop me. I went to Harvard Law School and then Columbia Law School. When I started, there were 9 women and 500 men. There wasn't even a women's bathroom in the main building. Where's the women's room, she asked. Down the block. I was selected for the law review, an honor for top students, at both schools, the first woman to do so. Did I mention that I achieved this while becoming a mother and taking care of my husband while he had cancer? At my law school graduation, I was tied for first place in my class. But because I was a woman, there wasn't a single law firm in New York City that would hire me. We don't hire women, they said. We don't hire Jews, they said. We don't hire mothers with kids. That's injustice at its finest. Luckily, one of my law professors convinced a local judge to take a chance. Sometimes, the only way to make change is when someone gives you a chance. From there, I studied the law in other countries and became a law professor. While in Sweden, I discovered that they had lots of women enrolled in law school. I even saw a judge who was pregnant. Other times, you won't know change is possible until someone shows you it's possible. When I started teaching at Rutgers Law School, my female students helped spark my interest in the developing field of law. To prepare, I read every federal decision ever published about women's rights. It didn't take long. There weren't many. Eventually, I put that knowledge to work for the American Civil Liberties Union. Back then, even our local college was boys only. We helped change the admission policy so girls could study there too. My coworkers and I saw how many unfair laws existed. In Wisconsin, male barbers can cut men's and women's hair, but female hairdressers can only cut women's hair. Here's another. If you're a single woman taking care of your parents, the government will help you. But if you're a single man, you get nothing. We took them to court to strike down these laws. We agree with you, Mrs. Ginsburg. It is unfair to help women but not men. We won, and that was for Moritz versus Commissioner. Oftentimes, change doesn't happen all at once. It happens little by little, case by case. All we wanted was for women and men to have the same rights. To achieve that, we needed to change more than the laws. We had to change how people think. It came down to a simple question. How would you like the world to be for your daughters and granddaughters? One of my biggest cases was about a woman named Sally Reed and a law in Idaho that said when you're choosing someone for a certain job, you should always choose a man before you choose a woman. I co-wrote the brief that we sent to the Supreme Court, which is the most powerful court in the country. I found out the result on a train. We won unanimously, which means every member of the Supreme Court voted for our side. It was the first time in history that the court struck down a law like that for being unfair to women. Soon, I got to argue my first case at the Supreme Court. It looked just like the temples from my old mythology books. I wore my mother's jewelry to honor her. 9 justices, which is what they called the judges, all of them men, stared down at me. I was definitely nervous. But once I started speaking, the justices got to hear what life was like, when people treat you like a second-class citizen. In each case, our argument was the same. Whether it be Frontiero versus Richardson, Weinberger versus Weissenfield, or Duren versus Missouri. At the podium, I had to lower the microphone. And over the years, we won 5 out of the 6 Supreme Court cases that I argued. In the process, we changed the way people are treated. Eventually, I wasn't just arguing in front of the court. I became a judge. And then a Supreme Court justice, the second woman and first Jewish woman ever. One of the most important cases we heard was about the Virginia Military Institute, a school that didn't allow women to be students. Women aren't strong enough to be in the military. Plus, they'd be a distraction. These are the same arguments I'd heard for decades. This time, though, I'd be one of the people voting. And every justice but one agreed with me that the school treated women unfairly and had to change their policies. More important, at other public schools, they can't do that to girls either. During my time on the Supreme Court, I wasn't always on the winning side. In fact, I lost a lot. Ruth was known for saying, "I dissent." But what is a dissent? Well, it's when you disagree with the majority of justices and write your own opinion telling the public why. In one case, a woman named Lily Ledbetter was being paid less than her male coworkers for doing the same job. My dissent told Congress that my fellow justices misunderstood the existing law. Within 2 years, Congress listened and created a new law. They're calling it the Lily Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. And over time, the best reasoned dissents can eventually become the majority view. That's how progress works. When you break down barriers, others can get a fair chance. In my life, they told me that a woman couldn't climb trees, couldn't have adventures, couldn't be lawyers, and certainly couldn't be a Supreme Court justice. But there's nothing that a woman cannot be. I was as smart and capable as anyone else. But because I was a woman, I wasn't given the same opportunities. So why do you change things when the rules are unfair? You change the rules. When Justice Ginsburg started law school, less than 3% of U.S. legal professionals were women. And today, more than half of law students are women. And nearly 40% of federal judges are women, including 4 members of the Supreme Court. The lace collar around her neck is called a jabot. Justice Ginsburg wore different ones for different occasions, including one that she wore for dissents. Did you know that her daughter, Jane, became a law professor and was a mentor to the author of this book, helping him become a writer? And when Justice Ginsburg was officially appointed, the Supreme Court finally put a women's bathroom in their robing room, the same size as the men's. At some point, there will be things you want to change. People might call you a complainer or troublemaker. They will tell you that things are fine the way they are. But when you see something that's unjust, you need to take a stand. Use your voice, use your brain. If people ignore you, let them hear your dissent. You may not win now, but you can open minds tomorrow. Today they call me a trailblazer, but the best part of blazing a trail is leaving tracks. That means you're not just doing things for yourself. You're leaving a path for others to follow. Start with one voice, and let it grow into a chorus. I am Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Create equality, create justice. The end. RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is a national hero. She was a treasure, and her whole life she dedicated for justice. Rest in peace, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. May your memory live on in all our hearts and in the U.S. Whether it be the dissents you made, the laws you passed and created, you are a hero and will always be remembered. Thank you.